Hey guys, Knight the Storyteller here, and today I want to go over combat, as it's the core of the game, it's a major thing at every table, and it's always where people walk away talking. So let's discuss it, how to make it just as good as possible for everyone involved. For players, we're just going to start off with you guys, since you guys really have the most impact on combat. A DM can, decide when it happens, and he can decide a lot about it, but you guys really, really fuel it. Um, so, my first tip for players when it comes down to combat is going to be your plan. So that's your goal. When you're in a combat situation, what are you really trying to accomplish? Most of the time, most of the time, killing your enemies is just kind of like a bonus. Like there's always, you're ambushed by bandits and they're trying to kill you for some reason. Um, and obviously, killing them is going to be the goal. But not every situation is that cut and dry. Um, let's say you're facing the local guard who are accusing you of stealing. You've been framed. Well, you really don't want to kill them, as that's just gonna make things way harder. You want to escape, and assessing how you're going to escape, how do you keep avoiding the guard? How do you do all this stuff is going to be important, and that's going to be a lot more interesting than just killing them. Um, and let's say you're trying to stop a zombie army. Zombies have taken over the planet. How are you going to stop? Well, you're going to want traps. You're going to want to kill the necromancers. Sorry. There's going to be more to every combat. There's always going to be something that's just more than killing. This is kind of like a video game, but to further the video game analogy, think of a wave-based game. You have your objective, and your objective is what you need to get done. Enemies will just keep coming until you complete your goal. So get your job done. And thinking about how you're going to get the job done and executing that plan is going to be more fun for you than just going in, murdering everybody. Um, so make a plan, execute the plan, throw out the plan when it goes wrong. And yeah, that's my big tip for players. Uh, though I do have another one, which is using the environment in the battlefield. You obviously hear this all the time, but being able to use the forest as cover, or use the forest to mask your approach as you approach the castle, or all these things, it's really going to create a narrative to it, and it's very cool. It's just fucking cool. Um, So we're gonna move over onto DMs as well. I didn't have much to tell players. Um, DMs. My first tip for you guys is never stop the party from preparing for their next fight. A party that is super prepared are going to steamroll a fight, and that's fine. And that is actually going to be more satisfying for the players, as they will feel like they just they will feel like their preparation was worth it, and they will want to prepare more. And you'll get bonus points for if you make that preparation part of the game. Let's say the you give the big bad dragon enemy a huge weakness to this certain type of arrow, and you give the party a quest to go get those types of arrows so they can go kill the dragon easier. That quest is certainly going to feel much more important when you fucking kill the dragon with the arrows. My next tip, besides preparation for DMs, is just let combat be something subjective and mostly controlled by the players. Um, in a real world, obviously fighting is very rare. Most sane people are not going to be like trying to fist fight a bunch of people with swords. It's not very smart. Um, so understanding why the fight is happening, or kind of giving the players the choice of, hey, there's these bandits. You could just talk to them and convince them that you're too big of a threat, uh, or you could just walk by, you could try to sneak by. Give them all kinds of options. Let the combat be control. Let the players decide if they want to do combat. And even with like monsters, let's like a lot of monsters are just animals. Like if you have a griffin inside this big cave, they're most likely just protecting their eggs, and they probably won't really try to fight you. Well, they could probably be convinced to not try to kill the party if, let's say, the druid walks over and is like, "Hey, you're cool and pretty. Don't fucking kill us." Um, and that would also mean that there's less combat. So, and that's just going to make the combat better because it's more rare. The party is deciding when the combat's being done. Um, and the last thing I really want to harp on is a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory is when you're a Pyrrhic victory is when one side won, but they barely won. They won at a great cost, so they only won in name alone. And this is great as you can do this with so often, and this is a great thing for for you as a DM, where you want the party to win, but you also want your villain to get their you want your villain to be a threat and get more stronger or accomplish things so that the villain seems dangerous. They seem successful. And the party doesn't have to lose to do that. So a Pyrrhic victory is actually how you do that. In combat, you have your enemies have their own goals that they're trying to get done. The party the party stops them, or they don't. Either way, that combat suddenly just got a lot more interesting as the party now they have to go protect a goal. They have things they have to defend, and your enemies are trying to get the objective done. And once they got that objective done, they're gone. Have them run. Um, in the end, the heroes drove away the enemies, but the goal was accomplished. Your monsters have assassinated a politician, or they killed an NPC, or they have made off with some loot. Whatever happened, the party still won that counter. They beat the enemies. The enemies lost, and they probably there's more lives were saved, or a lot of loot was protected, or whatever. But your villain still made away with something, and that's great. Combine the Pyrrhic victory with some other things, and suddenly your villain is going to look pretty good, and your party doesn't feel like shit. And obviously, you don't want to overuse this as eventually your party's going to realize like, hey, weren't we winning? We thought we were winning, but the villain's now way more stronger than when we were around. That's once that connection's made, that's going to be really bad for you. So be careful with that, and remember that you want your players to walk away happy in the end. So obviously tailor all this for your party, and have a good day.